Once you grasp this truth that I'm about to tell you, it'll set you free from religion. It'll set you free from parents and moms and family and governments and police, everybody. It'll set you free. And it's simply this: you are divine. God has exploded in a Crab Nebulae explosion, and he has come and manifested himself as billions of people. And you're one of you, and so am I. When I look at you, I see God. When you look at me, you see God. That's why God's name is I am. I am God. It doesn't mean that me, God. It means I am. When you say I am God, you have to say, what is God's name? I am. What? I am God. Oh my God, then all the people, Christians run around, oh, I told you they think they're God. I don't think anything on the side. No, Jesus Christ said, the scripture says you are God, and the scripture cannot be broken. So he said it.
Yeah, like I'm not third album.
Peace, 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 family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of Ascendant Astrology, and I am your astrology coach. Today, I'm going to be discussing the new moon in Aquarius, which is actually a super moon, so it's going to be extra big, happening on February 9th. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius will feel this the most. 20 degrees is a Scorpio degree. So this is ending, the ending of something and the beginning of something new. We will have a stellium of planets in Aquarius from the middle of February to March that will reactivate this new moon. So you have plenty of time to manifest your new intentions. New moons are a time to make new intentions. Aquarius is a fixed air sign, bringing in determination and being able to bring projects to its completion. I do feel like because this is a closing of something and the opening to something new, that there are going to be a lot of past people, places, and things trying to come back and to continue on this journey with you. And so it's going to be up to you to decide whether or not those people are allowed to come with you on this journey. Now that Jupiter is direct, you do have divine protection. And so if you're not getting anything from the past coming into your new, veil, if you will, or this new journey, then that means that they're not meant to come with you. And the people who do get through are lessons for you to learn something from, in some way, shape, or form, especially with the eclipses coming up. So it's going to be very important for people to be open to the past that is coming in for closure, and to really check and see with your boundaries, taking things slow, being methodical to make sure that they are actually meant to be in this new reality with you. And so you'll see the outcome of this, in the next 6 months when we have the full moon in Aquarius, where everything is kind of culminating. You'll get more answers. So try to be patient with yourself as these things are going on, because they're going to get really riled up from now until eclipse season. And even again, when we have the full moon, it'll have these same other aspects that I won't be talking too much about here, but just a little bit, which is just Saturn and Uranus. Uranus being the biggest one, because Uranus is the ruler, and Saturn is the ruler too, but Uranus being bigger because it's a square. And so things that can come up can be a little difficult, tumultuous, unexpected kind of things. And so stay grounded, use your tools, and making sure you're really being intentional with how you go about whether or not the past is allowed to come with you or not. Aquarius rules hopes and wishes, what you're hoping to achieve, your dreams, what your dreams are, how you can come together as a collective to manifest a new reality, and how to raise your vibration. Aquarius, because it is an air sign, is definitely going to be all about vibration and what you're putting out into the world, kind of like Leo. I always say Leo is like the Care Bears, you know how they had their little Care Bears, they use their hearts, you know, and so are you tapping into your uniqueness, and how are you going to express that through your heart out into the world? Um, and knowing and also knowing and understanding the consequences of that, good or bad, and taking responsibility for that, good or bad, and continuously working on them, because everything takes time. You're not going to figure it out on February 9th with the new moon. Also, everybody's going to experience this. Everybody has Aquarius somewhere in their chart. I'll be putting the horoscopes out Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, because I think the new moon's on Friday. So I'll have all that information out on either Monday or Tuesday um of next week. So you can see how this is going to be playing out for you on my IG page. So if you're not following me on my IG page, all my information to get in contact with me in any way, shape, or form is in the description box below and or at the top, the little buttons at the top of the page. Um, yeah, family, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you in advance. Aquarius also rules your intellect, information, data, science, innovation, individualism, freedom, your uniqueness, social progress, the future, truths, shocks, surprises, revolution, rebellion, decentralization. I also see this as sovereignty. And I'll talk a little bit more about that down below. But essentially, again, sovereignty is just freedom and not working through the system. Um, Communities, collaboration, institutions, and corporations. This can be more people are homeschooling. We might see more microcurrencies, private wallets. Journalism can become more independent. We can see more alternative channels, more alternative internet systems, more alternative electricity systems, because Uranus rules electricity, and more universal systems overall in general. I think we can see more things like BRICS, more people adding on to BRICS. BRICS is doing amazing right now. I'm really proud of them, despite the ones that may have had to leave. I haven't really been paying too much attention to it, but I do know some new people have added on, and I'm really proud of what they're doing. And so we could see more bigger corporations, companies, people, places, and things taking on this role of kind of separating from the American dollar and or ways of doing things. Um, we could be initiating new ideas, embracing individuality, and contributing to the collective advancement, putting our differences aside to build more unity in our communities. I think that's going to be huge. That's much like BRICS, like what I was talking about. Um, Doing like grassroots projects, knocking on doors, making phone calls, old way of doing things, perhaps not so much on the internet, but it could also be on the internet, like on YouTube, bloggers, people coming together, doing collaborative efforts and conversations. You might see a lot of that, other people working with other people to have bigger conversations, to get the information out there, the correct information, right? Because Saturn is in Pisces, and so um, propaganda is very real, and they meaning, you know, the people in power have more control over what we see and what we don't see. And so I think we can see a lot more independent news and things. Again, people on the floor out there really in the streets, just with a camera recording, this is what's really going on type of stuff. I do know that in Texas, they're talking about just Mexicans coming through as immigrants because it's the Mexican Texas border. But I don't know if you guys are really paying attention. I'm really not, but I dibble and dabble. And it's not just Mexicans, it's people all across the world, China, Africa, um, Europe, all immigrants are trying to come through that border. And they only seem to be focused on this one area, which is another thing to pay attention to. And when there's a whole, that whole border is a whole area where other people can be coming through other ways and things of that nature, but they're making one big deal out of this one specific area. So that's very interesting, I found. Um, and I think it's something to be aware of and be mindful. These people are really trying to cause division. Um, and start a war, to be honest, because there's money involved. I know that's might sound crazy to some people, but it's a real thing. And so just be mindful what you choose to get yourself involved with without having all the facts behind everything. Stay focused on your goals. And so Pluto in Aquarius will reveal corruption in science, technology, and all Aquarius themes. Individuation is important, but freedom for humanity is going to be the bigger goal, which we'll see over this duration of time. I did talk about this before. I do think we're going to see the lower expressions being played out first for this first couple of few years, especially when Aquarius, Uranus moves into Gemini in 2026. Aquarius and Gemini getting together already it's I mean, it's trouble, okay? And then you got Pluto to boot. Um, yeah, let's just say for the first 5 or 6 years or so, this is definitely going to be more of the lower expressions of Aquarius. But again, just remember, be mindful, do your research, know who you are. Again, stay grounded, um, because these things are really coming up so that we can address them. So again, use your tools, what helps you get through things, buy things, have a deeper, more intimate conversations. Pluto wants the truth. Pluto is going to be asking Aquarius, what do you want? At your deepest, darkest desires, what do you want? What do you want? And it's really, really, really going to force us to look at Aquarius themes, both personally and on a global level, to say, this is what the lower expressions of Aquarius is. Have you addressed them? Do you have your tools for them? What are you doing to change that? Um, and things of that nature. And so it's going to be tough. I don't think this is going to be easy. And I say that mostly because it's people. I think this time around more than we Pluto and Capricorn showed us the government ain't shit. Let's just say it like it is, right? Let's not sugarcoat it, because Pluto's like, there's always some shit somewhere. The shit's gonna be there. So it's not even necessarily about fixing it or eliminating it, but accepting it, accepting your darker sides, um, so that you can heal them, but what's maybe more a healthier way that you can do them, and how can we do that creatively to solve other problems? And so no judging, and like I think I've been on this kind of kick of trying to be mindful of how I talk about certain situations, instead of saying, oh, they're like we got these words that we will cue people as, like, oh, they're toxic, or they're manipulators, or all these kind of words that we use to describe things, which they're going to be there, says Pluto. Those words and those things can be very real. However, can we deal with this in a more mature way? Can we really look at the deeper problem instead of just saying somebody's toxic? Why are they toxic? Not to say that this is your job as people to fix people, they have to fix themselves, but in order to start that healing process, when you judge somebody, it only further fuels them to be toxic. They want to be heard. So, why are they toxic? What are some of the things that they're doing, and how can you kind of help eliminate them from feeling that way, or alienated, or left out, or that there's something wrong with them? That's going to be huge. That's going to be a huge, huge topic on a personal level. Um, yeah, I feel like I could say so much more about that, but it's important to find your own uniqueness and then bring it back to the world. Pluto also rules debt, taxes, default, and the deficit. So we're definitely going to hear all the money problems that America's having and why this war is so important to them, why causing a war is going to be so important to them, and why division in the world is so important to them. This fuels multiple streams of income. They got many ways to make money when we're not getting together, but when we come together, then that's when it becomes universal. And now nobody really is millionaires here or billionaires here. We are more equal to one another in that way. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that the further we get down into this, but those are going to be the kind of things that we'll see truths coming out about that, and understanding that that's why, I think, is very important. Yeah, yeah. So Uranus squares the sun and the moon. Squares are the energy of Mars, which creates frustration. Uranus is anything goes, going against the grain, future collective groups, and the people. So we can feel friction towards energy, vibration, information, connections, and unity. And so we can see these themes being played out in different ways, like issues around truth, shock, surprises, aviation, issues with power outages, cyber attacks. On a personal level, we really have to be careful with this, because on a lower vibration, Aquarius tends to want to be different just for the sake of being different, like a teenager wanting to break free from the hive, right? This is that time when they feel like they're grown, um, and they want to express themselves, but feel like they don't have space to do that within the home. And so being able to create a space for, again, people to be who they are without judgment, again, is going to be a really big theme. I think I talked about this with all the Capricorn energy. Are you having family meetings? Is it a democracy in your house? Does everybody have a chance to speak? I think those things, bringing those old values and morals and ethics back into the home, back into your groups, back into groups, and things of that nature are going to be very important to this process of growth and helping and healing one another. And it starts with the kids, it starts with the children. Are you teaching them everything that they need to know, instead of just beating them, disciplining them? Meanwhile, you haven't taught them how to do anything. You're just frustrated because you work all the time, and the bills need to be paid, and who's cleaning the house, and who's teaching. All these kinds of things are definitely going to come up in major, major ways, but as an opportunity to bring in more creative solutions to solving these problems. Um, and so, before you get frustrated, I think as a human, get frustrated, have your moment, sit down and really think things through, but don't stay there. Ask the right questions to get to the bottom of the issues. That's the best way to deal with this without judgment. Use your heart. Um, yeah. And And so this is the energy of burning bridges, focusing on polarity, division, judgment. I'm right, you're wrong, tit for tat, blue or red, Democrat or Republican. Not really taking accountability, which fuels war. And I think this is what I was really talking about when I first started talking about this Pluto and Aquarius energy, is that we're going to have to face some really hard truths that we're going to recognize. The only way they're able to get, they meaning again, the government, or the people in power, are able to get away with propaganda and tricking you and things of that nature, is because we're not teaching one another. We're not having conversations. We're ashamed to talk about, what our problems are. We're not, there's no platform for people to be able to do those things in a healthy way, where people can learn from our mistakes, or the people who come before us, so that we can pass the torch on in a healthier way. Pluto and Capricorn. That's what Pluto and Capricorn expects us to do, which really goes back to your morals and values. How are you raised? And if you didn't have them, how can you implement them, instead of, crying and complaining that, my parents didn't do this or my parents didn't do that. Okay, cry and complain from your human experience. That's going to be a necessity. Let's just keep it real, right? Because Pluto says there's always going to be some shit, right? Let's just face the facts, right? But use these opportunities as they come up to be better, do better so that you can be better. And after you have your moment of crying and complaining, we have to make room for that. That's just the bottom line. Um, and so ego drives us. It's important for us to always be in our higher side. Aquarius is the higher vibration of the people. And so all these issues are coming up again to get us to our highest vibration. Because if we're taking sides, then war really, again, isn't the problem. Conflict is the problem. So you got to use your tools to, alleviate or uh, resolve those problems. Aquarius rules society, the social economic state of the world, people in politics. And 20 degrees is like us getting sick of our own shit. Again, Pluto is like Pluto, Scorpio energy was like, I'm tired of y'all. All right, we need to come together and get past all this dumb shit. And I think we're going to start to really, really see people dig deep, feet on the ground, and say, no more, I'm done. I think particularly, and I'll talk about this in with the Chiron conjunct Aries, the North Node, because remember, Aries is also Pluto, Scorpio energy too, because Mars rules Aries, and Mars is the ancient ruler of Pluto. So Pluto's getting ready to dig in y'all ass, basically, and it's gonna hurt. Um, try not to be so hard on yourselves, but take the blow. Take this opportunity to really cry and get it out, and then deal with your darker side, and finding a more creative way to deal with your darker side, instead of saying, I'm not a good person, or, I don't deserve this because I've done these things, or, things of that nature. But Chiron is the wounded healer. And so now we're dealing with our wounds. Now, Chiron has been in Aries for a while, so this isn't new to us. Thank God, because I think it would be a lot worse. However, I think the shock factor of it is going to be what hits us the hardest. It's like, oh shit, like you're going to have these light bulb moments going off, like, oh damn, I am an asshole. Oh fuck, I did do that, didn't I? And having to address that. But I think we'll see like veterans, soldiers really standing up again, feet on the ground. This was the um, energy I was talking about when I was talking about masculine energy starting to stand up and wanting their spot back, wanting that respect, wanting to be acknowledged. That masculine energy is necessary in this world as much as feminine energy. But I think what we're going to see is a lot of soldiers and veterans saying, no, no more war. Even the kids, even the people, are going to look at war as, well, what has the country done for me? You got veterans out here who have already fought in the war and they're still struggling. They have no place to go. They have no platform. And then it's going to be the argument of, and then they have the immigrants coming in here taking all of our resources. I can see this now. And they haven't done nearly as much as the veterans or soldiers and things of that nature. These conversations are for sure going to come up. And if they're not coming up again in that same way in your personal life, like my parents didn't do this, my parents didn't do that, you weren't a real mom, you weren't a real dad. You don't deserve this spot. You don't deserve to get to say what happens in my life because you didn't do the work as a leader, as a person who's in power, or whatever. And so because of those lacks or lapse of responsibility, people are tired. They're like, no, we're not going to fight for this country. Kids and teenagers and other people in general, they're like, no, we're not going to listen to you anymore. In relationships, whoever's wearing the pants is going to be like, no, you're not leading this family. You're not taking care of this family. Why should you deserve to make all the decisions? It's going to be a shit show. But again, try to stay grounded and leave your heart open to really listen. Listen to what the complaints are, to deal with these issues in a more respectful way, and seeing it from both sides of the story, and then coming up with solutions to deal with these things so that we can create closure and get some healing and really be able to move forward on the right side of this. And trying to stay together, I think is going to be the part that's going to make this a little bit more harder, because you might not want to deal with somebody once that truth comes out because of embarrassment and shame. And people are going to have to respect where you are. But again, getting closure is about being able to walk away saying, okay, now at least I know why so and so did what they did. I forgive you. I understand that we're probably not going to be friends or in a relationship or, as parents, be as close. But are there some things that we can do maybe perhaps later down the line? Sure, of course. That's the key, to be able to come together. Some people are already at this point, and so we could see also a lot of people coming together on the strength of they've healed, they've accepted what they've done. They can be more open to relationships now, open to more creative solutions. These people might be the leaders in these kinds of situations by sharing their story. Don't be like me. Take this opportunity to change because I did this. I remember what it was like being in your shoes, types of things I think we can see in groups coming out of this, and making it some kind of social activity for people to heal off of that vibration of trying to get over that situation and forgive. I think we're going to see a lot of stuff like that as well. Um, and so when I also think of stuff like this, um, especially when it comes to the war, Harriet Tubman. If you've been listening to me for a while, you guys know I've been on this kick of Harriet Tubman and the way she strategically helped slaves instead of being rebellious. They had ports, and when I think of ports or like stops, um, I think of different businesses or again different social groups. I think of you know um these are the ways that we kind of strategically handle being able to help one another. So if there are immigrants coming through the borders, how can we help them? How can we set up different stations for them to be able to have, or get out of the situation that they're trying to get out of in a more strategic way, instead of making it a war or blaming them for whatever resources and things that we're not getting and things of that nature. How can we have a more humanitarian way of looking at how to deal with this, instead of what they're selling on TV, which I really do think that they're doing this intentionally, unfortunately. um how can we help them in a strategic way? How can we help ourselves in strategic ways? Breaking free from the system, having more creative ways to make money and come together. Um, I think those things are going to have to be learned, taught, shared, and started, so that other people will have these places to go. I think of like refuge, places to go to counteract some of the things that might be going on in the world, instead of being rebellious, going out there, being a part of the war, rampaging in the streets, yelling and screaming at the state building, or the police, or these types of things again. And now war is not the problem. The conflict is the problem. If we're not getting to the root cause, Pluto, of the issue, we're just reinforcing it. That's the vibration you're putting out there. That's what you're going to get back, right? And this energy, I'd caution you from doing stuff like that, because you're creating your future for the people coming behind you. And so choosing the way you respond is going to be really, really huge. So embrace change, embrace unconventional approaches. Be prepared for intense conversations about freedom, intense conversations about information, sharing information and getting the word out. We may have to look beyond what we think is possible. We may have to believe more to bring change, to become more independent and more abundant. Because Uranus is in Taurus, we may have to embrace being more comfortable with our body, to be more comfortable with our resources. When I was thinking of this, I was thinking of Libya, like Muammar Gaddafi. Am I saying that right? I'm probably completely butchering that man's name, but I don't know how many people know about him. But in Libya, the reason why he died was because he had a universal system in his country, in Libya. People didn't, everybody had a home. They didn't have to pay for school. School paid you. Everybody had a job, access to work. And if they wanted to come to another country to get education, they would pay for them to come to another country to get education. This is very, very Aquarian. This is the definition of sovereignty. Go do your research on Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. I believe he was the president of Libya. Um, I wish I could remember what year that was. It wasn't too far away, but you know, look at his system and the way he ran his country. So every time I say sovereignty, you know what I'm talking about. That's what sovereignty is. That's what Aquarius wants for the entire world. And that's exactly what the people in power are going to fight against, because again, it makes everybody equal as opposed to there being a hierarchy. Um, and again, I don't think that that's definition for people to go fighting the government to get that, because you can't make anybody change. You're just going to have to accept that that's the world that you live in. However, you can do these same things on a smaller level within your own home. And so how can you raise your kids to be on this more sovereign idea of living, thinking, morals, values, and ethics? How can they operate? I bet you did that, your children wouldn't get to their teenage years and start acting crazy. I mean, maybe they might, but I can almost imagine with a system like that, that people would be more graceful and there wouldn't be this feeling of lack or feeling left behind or these kind of attitudes and behaviors that are causing us to be more volatile or you know divided or that there are some things that perhaps we don't want to deal with when you live in a world or a society that is like that. It's more peaceful, right? And so do your research, family. There are ways of doing things out there like that. Don't second guess yourselves and don't doubt the ability that you have to create your own world and your life without worrying about the government. Know that there's going to be some sacrifices needed to do that, simply because not everybody's there mentally, right? To get everybody on the same page, especially in your own household. When you're sending your kids to school, they're learning an entirely different system, and you're trying to teach something else at home. Those are going to be conversations that you have to have in a you're going to have those conversations, even if you do come home from a 9 to 5 and you're tired and you don't feel like talking. Those are going to be things that just can't let it sit by the wayside and expect it to magically happen because you said don't do that because you're the parent. It doesn't work that way. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of hard work and consistency and persistence and making those changes in your life. But it is doable. Take it from me. As I am trying to change a 23-year-old, which, by the way, I haven't always had this knowledge, but I did have and was raised with good morals and values. So it wasn't as hard for me to change my son's mindset. We have our little differences and squabbles or whatever, but for the most part, I've been blessed with some really good kids. And so I'm so grateful for that. But just know that nothing's meant to be. Like Pluto says, just remember, Pluto's always going to remind you there's always going to be some shit. So just be prepared, and have your tools. Um, and so Uranus will encourage people to express our unique ideas and perspectives, be bold, have the desire to rebel against the status quo and embrace a more individual path. Outsiders can become the leaders, innovators, progressive visionaries. The youth is going to be huge in this transformation taking place for sure. I'm hoping it's on the higher side than the lower side, although I think it might be a little bit of both, but we will see. Um, we create our reality by the vibration we put out there. So, yeah, there's past lives. Yeah, there's karma and society that plays a part, but essentially we choose how we respond. I think I said that. So, Uranus wants to free us from something because it's in Taurus. This is definitely finances, breaking out of old financial systems, breaking old outdated beliefs, getting into more agriculture within your home. There are little small things that you can do around that as well. Even banks and creating your own banks within a family. There are ways of doing that too. Do your research, family. Believe in the power. um, that allows us to kind of break free from the matrix, having social awareness. And then Saturn is as important to look at as well, especially when it comes to the disillusionment, and again, the propaganda of what's being sold out there. Um, Unfortunately, this could have a lot to do with thinking that having material items or achieving the possessions of a home or an item is going to feel is going to make you feel complete in some kind of way, you might get to the top of that and still feel empty and lost. And so you really do have to know who you are. Understand that money is the vehicle to get us to this more sovereign lifestyle, but it's not the answer. It's not what the real cause is. The real cause is because you want freedom. Money is just the vehicle that helps you get there because you live in a society that is fueled by money, right? And so a more bohemian lifestyle might become the goal. Pisces rules spirituality, your higher self, rest, anything behind the scenes or inner work, or growing your intuition. And then Saturn rules leadership, control. And so if we're not actively working on our Pisces area of life, we can start to feel stuck. And understanding that growth is also continuous, and learning never stops. And you have, your first house, which is your goals and the goals that you want for yourself. That's your free will. And then you have the 10th house, or your MC, really, which is God's plan for you. And both of those things are always playing out simultaneously. I think I talked about that when I used the example of everything that I went through after I got out of prison. Most of that stuff was God's plan for me, because he was trying to show me something, show me that I had the power to be a better person than the road I was going down. And for the things that I was choosing for myself wasn't really going to get me to where I really wanted to go, or where God had intended for me to go, right? And so there's always that, both of those themes are always going to be playing out simultaneously. And again, this isn't about right or wrong, good or bad. It's just about seeing, acknowledging it, noticing when it is, when to play into what role and when not to, et cetera, et cetera. And they both play a role hand in hand, believe it or not. And so, but when you're not aware of it, it's a not. But when you are aware of it, now you're playing chess, not checkers. Okay. So, um, overall, I really, 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 really like this. Although I can see the shit hitting the fan, but necessarily so. Um, it's a good thing, you know. I can't wait to talk about all the other planets moving into Aquarius. I think I'm gonna do some lower expression of Aquarius, Pisces, and I think there was one other sign, Aries, because Pluto, Scorpio is also ruled by both Aries and Pluto. Mars and Pluto. So I'm going to do the lower expressions of Aries, lower expression of Scorpio, and the lower expression of Pisces. And I might continue that series every month. I'll do another sign depending on where the signs are. I think Pisces actually is the next sign. And then so I think Taurus is next. So Taurus season, I'll do Taurus, because I think it's going to be important to know both, what they can look like, what to expect, just for awareness and fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's fun for me. I love doing that stuff, but I really do think it's essential to have those conversations on a deeper level, because Pluto is going to bring up your darker side, especially in your Aquarius area of life. But as it connects with all these different signs, it's bringing up the lower expressions of all of that stuff. So um let's take it as a learning experience and make it fun too. And as usual, family, I hope you found this information helpful. I love and appreciate you. Peace.